Welcome back to the Total Succession Show. You've probably felt it. The advisory industry is shifting under our feet as we speak. A huge number of advisors are approaching retirement. Buyers have more capital than ever, thank you, PE. And technology is changing on how advice is being delivered, insert AI, and the next generation of advisors is entering the industry with very different expectations than the generations before them. So today we're actually pulling together insights from a few conversations to help you understand what's changing and what you need to do now so your exit isn't rushed, isn't reactive, or forced. This is the succession wave, what every advisor needs to know about their next 10 years.
Welcome to the Total Succession Show. I'm your host, Tyson Ray, joined by Kim Cochenour. We're glad you're here. Subscribe at totalsuccession.com/podcast and let each episode guide you closer to a confident, well-planned exit. Today's conversation just might be the nudge you need to start preparing for what's next.
To start, Aaron Hassler from Spruce Rock Capital works directly with advisors navigating succession transactions every day. So he has a front row seat to how these industry changes are actually playing out.
I do like to have advisors when I go out and do presentations and lectures around kind of the succession planning options in the industry, or when we're first getting to know clients. I love asking a lot of questions. I like to understand, people's businesses. What was their career genesis? What made them build the firm they have today? What makes them tick? What are they passionate about? Because I think it really serves an advisor well to talk to, not only, say, okay, this is my internal succession option and this is what I could do. But I think you really need, consultants like us or, some of the peers in the industry that can provide some detail. But I do think it's helpful for people to go out and speak with some of the, more serial acquirers or aggregators, because it's just like what Tyson was talking about when I represent a client and we're looking at their succession plan. I like to be able to go out and show them different firms. And, in Tyson's case, we're looking at and kind of hammering through the different details. At the end of the day, you guys, both buyer and seller, want this to be an accretive transaction to their businesses. And I think the only way you can get to that is when you've done your homework, when you've educated yourself on the different options that are available. And you're going and saying, hey, this is ultimately after, educating myself, this is the choice that best fits me, best fits my clients. And when you do that, that succession plan works really well. And so I always tell advisors is spend time, whether it's on a monthly basis or quarterly basis or annually of, just like you're working on and in your business, or you're working on it in your client infrastructure or your service model, you're working on it thinking about your succession plan. Even if you're 35, 40 years old, start to build out that vision.
I think one of the mistakes advisors make is especially as we get old, long in the tooth, if you will, in these careers, is that we know so much about financial planning and retirement planning.
Yeah.
We almost take for granted that we both don't do it for ourselves. And then also kind of stop being the student of the profession to be able to go see what's out there.
Aaron and Tyson highlight the same reality. Advisors have more options than ever when it comes to succession. But those options only work when you start planning early and bring the right people into the conversation. And this leads to another bigger question facing the industry right now. If so many advisors are preparing to step back, who is going to be stepping in? To explore that, we spoke to Jackie Wilkie from First Trust, who works directly with advisory firms all across the country, helping them build stronger teams and develop the next gen of advisors. One of the biggest shifts we're seeing in the traditional rainmaker model, which you'll hear why we don't love that phrase, many advisors built their business on, is actually starting to change.
There's nothing wrong with a lifestyle practice. You might just wanting to be setting your clients up for relationship managers who, when you retire, they're going to take care of your clients and continue to care for those clients. And, like most things in life, what got us here isn't necessarily going to get us to where we want to be. And everything's different now. right? How we grew that kind of rainmaker model of the past, it's different now because the investor is different, the environment is different, AI and technology are massively disrupting our industry, democratization, commoditization, and preferences are shifting, both from the investor and the ones you'd want to grow with, as well as the advisor and who wants to join our industry, who wants to join those teams. So I think there's nothing wrong if you do find that traditional rainmaker, but I think we just need to redefine what rainmaking means. Maybe not using that term because some of the studies and the things that I've talked with the next gen advisors about is this aversion to sales. They don't want to feel salesy. And I think there's a way to reposition the rainmaker as you are business development. You are growing, but it's not because you're selling something, it's because you're serving someone.
Well, and the industry is shifted, right? 80s and 90s, again, we were in the industry was the only place you could go to get the products, in quotes. And the Rainmaker had a different perspective back then. Hollywood has done a wonderful job of letting everybody experience what that was like. And I think it's evolved into these are relationship managers, right? And what was the old Rainmaker to bring in new assets or development? If the business and the stats and the studies still reflect, it's a referral business. And if you're really good at managing relationships and connecting with the client, that creates the referability. That creates the ability to continue to consolidate wallet share. It continues to be able to go up and down the family tree from a referral standpoint or the networking of people, which I think any Gen 2 that I want to bring on is going to be really a people person that gets energized from dealing with people, that gets really excited about knowing the dog's name because that really matters to some people, right? Or what sports they follow or what their hobbies are, because it's all that checking in and connecting with the vacations they took, the life events they have, which is very different from the founders that are in their, may I say, later years and have their perspective of how they came up thinking, no, you got to go out there and they don't realize they actually were relationship people. That's how if you're successful in this business, you got really good at doing relationships. It might have started in sales, but I feel like it's transitioned to, it's not sales, it's solutions, and solutions grounded in the relationship and trust that gets developed in helping people.
What Jackie and Tyson highlight is that the next generation may approach the role very differently than the advisors who built many of the firms that are existing today. But if the future of advisory firms isn't built around a single rainmaker, then the structure of those businesses has to evolve with it too. That means stronger teams, clear and defined processes, and client experience that continues long after the founder steps back. That's something Duncan McPherson has spent decades helping advisory firms figure out. Duncan works with some of the top advisory firms across the nation and in the industry, helping them build businesses that can grow, scale, and ultimately transition successfully. Here's how he describes that progression that the best firms go through.
There's certain things you cannot learn in a simulator. You have to be there in real time. And I'm fortunate in that I've worked with some of the best teams in the business through the 4 progressions of what it means to be a financial professional. In the early days, Tyson, right, it would start with just, hey, I want to be viable. I want to be sustainable. So they focus on growing. And the best advisors would not go out and try to find new clients. They would be found by people because they would be referable. So organic growth through introductions, that's the first step. Then as they start growing, their shift in mindset is, okay, it's not a book of business, it's a business. So they start to add teaming. They start to add to their bench strength. And, obviously, in the spirit of plateau avoidance, just keep that growing. Then the third progression is scaling. This is where the proof of concept, their business, they're running the business like a business, and they're not transactionally working in the business, they're working on the business. So they build thought leadership, intellectual property, and process. But it all culminates, every investment of effort they make culminates in their end game and exit strategy. And this is what I love about this space. It's so unique, is that there's a duality. The financial professional who is methodical about their own continuity and succession plan becomes even more attractive to clients who have their own continuity and succession and family investment legacy issues.
Yeah, and if you're listening to this and you're honest with yourself, you're either already building this to be able to have this internal succession or be able to have this freedom, or you haven't. And then the question becomes, do you have the time to do it? Because that will have a lot to do with dictating whether or not you're going to be able to have a succession that's internal, or you may need to be finding an external partner or team that can come in and bring in the resources and the process and the other associates to help you be able to exit. Because you can't do this overnight. I mean, you just said to take a 6-month sabbatical, you might need 16 to 18 months to put it into place. And did you build the team that can take it over, or did you build the team and you've been leading your team in such a way that they're dependent on you to do their jobs, which really doesn't allow them to be that internal succession, because if you're not there, they can't do the job.
When you put these perspectives together, a bigger picture can actually start emerging. This industry is changing, advisors are retiring, and the next generation is approaching the profession very differently. And the firms that are going to succeed through this transition are the ones who are building real businesses with teams, building processes, and continuity, all within the structure. This brings us back to the question every advisor eventually has to face. What does your next chapter actually look like? And have you started preparing for that yet? That's exactly why Tyson built the SPACE framework. The first step is C, creating a space to step back and understand where the industry is heading and what your future will look like. Because the advisors who start planning early will have more options than the ones who have to wait. You have to give yourself the chance to see what the future can take. Make the time for it. It matters. We'll be back soon with more conversations like this.
These conversations are designed to support your next move, however close or far it may be. Tap subscribe and let each episode guide you closer to a confident, well-planned exit. I've wrestled with these things myself, and that's exactly why I created something to help you do it with less stress and more direction. My book, Total Succession, is now available on Amazon. Inside, I break the process down into 5 clear steps to help you exit on your terms with confidence, full compensation, and your client's best interests at heart. You can also visit totalsuccession.com/podcast to download a free starter guide that walks you through my SPACE framework: see, prepare, act, commit, exit. Remember, you only exit your business once. Create the space to do it well. Thanks for listening. Until next time.